Go ahead, Russell.
Sure. Welcome everyone to the second session of our AML series. Which started tomorrow and will be spanning until yesterday and will spanning until tomorrow. And for today, I'm pleased to introduce you to our key speaker from UiPath, handling one of the hottest products UiPath has to offer. Scott Schoenberger, hope I didn't butcher your name there, but he is our key speaker for today, a senior product manager who is leading in building integration services to connect to more API-based connections for your automations, especially now that Gen AI technologies are becoming more and more mainstream. It's also becoming a mandate for to incorporate more intelligence into your use cases. So these AI and ML connectors are definitely here to make every developer's life easier when building AI-powered automation. So the floor is yours, Scott.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Russ. And actually, you nailed my last name. Congratulations. You basically speak German now. Anyways, really nice to be here. And I'm hoping that this session can be super interactive. So please do pepper me with as many questions as possible. I also, Russell and Sharon are pretty familiar with our offering and integration service. And so, given the fact that my colleague Monica couldn't make it this evening, all the better for us to kind of spend some time conversing and learning together, I suppose. So yeah, I'm going to actually skip through some of her slides. She was going to go over some of the specific use cases within document understanding, which is, just to be clear, or to kind of create a distinction between integration service and document understanding, insofar as generative AI is concerned. Document understanding is leveraging Gen AI to a great extent to do very specific tasks within documents. So kind of classifying, extracting data, all of those use cases are also meaningful for the Gen AI connectors that we've built in integration service. So there's kind of this distinction between specialized AI and then just kind of being able to access and interact with the generative models in your Studio Web and Studio Desktop automations. And so Monica's really focused on all the specialized AI, kind of specific to document understanding, but actually a lot of the same tasks that document understanding offers, you could theoretically accomplish with the integration service generative AI connectors. And so that's what we're going to talk about. And as I said, I'm going to skip through her slides, and she has a great demo. I'm sure we'll find a way to get that out to folks as soon as possible. But let's talk a little bit about using generative AI connectors with an integration service. I would love if you guys could go ahead and scan this and start filling out this form. You could also use that URL if you're on a desktop, and that's easier. Given the fact that we have a little extra time today, I think it would be cool to go through the responses and just kind of have an open conversation at the end of this. So without further ado, hopefully everybody was able to scan this or go to the URL. Maybe I'll give a couple seconds here for stragglers. Maybe we could even post that URL, Diana, in the comment, in the meeting chat there, if possible.
Sure.
Cool. Awesome. Okay, I'm going to truck on through. So let's just level set and talk a little bit about integration service as a whole. I'm hoping some, if not most of you, have had an opportunity to work with integration service. It really is our solution and one-stop shop when it comes to API-based automation. So we offer a wide variety of features and functionality. We put a lot of time into curating vendor applications. So various line of business applications should cover, for the most part, the most important and strategic applications in your stack. And what we've done is we've effectively wrapped these vendor APIs in such a way to make it very easy to interact with and automate these systems at scale. So kind of this combined with the power and market leading UI based automation, and of course, adding on things like specialized AI and document understanding, really makes the UiPath platform a differentiated one in the RPA space. So as I mentioned, there's a large catalog. If you go into Automation Cloud, you go to Integration Service, you should see, get hit immediately with a large catalog of these connectors that are available for you to interact with either in our new flagship Studio Web or web-based automation studio, or Studio Desktop, obviously using the managed packages, downloading the packages, making sure that you're using the integration service one to interact with these vendor applications. So beyond that, we have a variety of other features that we're going to actually jump into in my demo here in a second. But we have not only activities for you to interact with these vendor applications, but also event triggers. So let's say something happens in Salesforce or something happens in Outlook, and you need to set up the logic to, anytime I get an email from this email address, I need to start an automation. That is something that we have available, something that we're going to continue to add new types of events and triggers. So very much dependent on your feedback and kind of participation when it comes to what do you need, what's not available now. I will note as well, just really quickly, that one other major feature that's going to be GA as of October, so 23.10, we will have Connector Builder, which has been in preview for many months now. Hopefully you've had a chance to take a look at that, but Connector Builder is the way that you can build your own connector. Why is that meaningful? Well, as opposed to setting up, kind of various HTTPS request activities and needing to store credentials as assets in Orchestrator, now you can just use a Swagger doc or kind of build out resources directly in Connector Builder to create activity packs, right? Obviously we're not going to be able to get to the long tail of, many business applications out there. Maybe you have a custom in-house application that you're using. Assuming you have REST APIs, you can now build out your own activity pack really easily. You can, store and manage connections, which basically means credentials associated to a specific user, and invoke those connections at runtime for your robots. So that was a probably lengthy, too verbose explanation of integration service. And again, any questions we have directly about IS, please let me know. So within the context of generative AI, we've made a huge investment in generative AI connectors. And again, these, just like any of the other connectors, allow you to use your credentials for Google Vertex, for OpenAI or Azure OpenAI, for Anthropic, for AWS SageMaker. You use your credentials to create a connection. That connection is stored within integration service in the cloud. And then you can reference those specific connections in your Studio Web and Studio Desktop automations. You can also, of course, once you publish those automations to Orchestrator, you can indicate in Orchestrator which connection you want that robot to run with. So in that sense, you can do your design of your automation, your build process of your automation using a dev or staging environment. And then once you actually promote to, kind of like you push things out into Orchestrator, they're running in production, you have a connection associated to your production environment. Anyways, getting back to this. So these are all of the Gen AI connectors that we currently support. So Google Vertex, we have access to the text and chat Bison, so part of the Palm 2 models. That is going to be GA officially next week, but has been in preview since June. Not sure if anybody here was able to join the Together in London conference back in June, but Graham Sheldon, our CPO, featured that there. Really excited about that. We're working directly with the Google Vertex team. Going to Google Next conference next week, so if anybody's there, hit me up. But yes, so we do have 2 activities that are available within Google Vertex that allow you to interact directly with those models. OpenAI and Azure OpenAI, those are separate connectors, which we did on purpose, of course. I think there's been a lot of, potentially, hesitation when it comes to, where is my data being stored? When I prompt a model, is that being used in the training of models in the future in any way, shape, or form? Let it be known that OpenAI has come out and assured folks that that they're not using data submitted to models in training anymore. But just in case, Azure OpenAI is a great option for you, and in that sense, you can be assured that all of your data stays within your cloud instance. So you have to deploy the OpenAI models within your Azure instance, but then you can be rest assured that that your data security is intact. Next would be Anthropic. So I don't know if folks are familiar with Anthropic. They're kind of a very cool, very well funded startup out of New York, and we have a connector that allows you to interact with their 2 models, Claude 2 and Claude Instant. Kind of interesting about Claude compared to the other models. I think there's something of I think their token limit is somewhere around 100,000 tokens, or maybe even more than that. And all that is to say is that the amount of data that you feed into the model and the data that you get out of the model can be enormous, right? Tokens don't directly line up to the word count necessarily. There is a way that each one of these model providers calculates those tokens, but it does directly impact how much context you can give the model, and B, how expensive this is going to be, which is super important. And I should also note that by using these connectors, right, you are using your credentials, so your environments, and you are incurring any of the costs with these services or vendors. So that's important to recognize as you start to kind of put your strategy together on how you might implement these Gen AI connectors, particularly when you're talking about something at scale. And we'll talk a little bit about this in my demo as well. Just, how do I think about conserving tokens? How do I think about, maybe limiting the amount of data or information that I send to the model to bring my costs down? The final one is Amazon SageMaker. So Gen AI connectors, there's kind of one of these things is not like the other, in the sense that Amazon SageMaker is really the studio or tool by which machine learning professionals and data scientists actually build out custom models. It's also the place where you can deploy what is known as a jumpstart model. So these are usually use case specific, models that do some very specific thing, some task, right? However, they also allow you to deploy things like Llama 2, which is the Meta LLM. And so I'm bringing this up only because, hey, if you have a use case where, or you have a team that's building out custom models, or they're working with AWS marketplace models, or they like the Jumpstart models, or they want to use Llama too, SageMaker is going to be your answer, right? That is the connector basically allows you to connect to your AWS environment and then interact with any of the models that have been deployed to production. Now, I'm going to be completely honest. That does require a little bit more know-how than the other connectors. And we made it generic on purpose so that, again, we can speed up that kind of prototype time. I've been involved in many teams in the past where, building a model is kind of half the pain, and then the other pain is like doing all the data engineering necessary to deploy that model, to get it into a production-worthy application. SageMaker should help with that, right? It should very much decrease the time needed. Once you have the model available and it's deployed, you can interact with it directly in your automations. So that's kind of the idea behind that. The one other thing I'm going to mention here is that I'm sure some of you folks, if you're AI enthusiasts, are familiar with the AWS Bedrock offering. So this is a managed service, very much similar to Anthropic and Vertex, or Google Vertex and OpenAI and Azure OpenAI, in the sense that they are hosting these models. One of them is their proprietary model called Titan. One is from AI 21 Labs, the Jurassic 2 model specifically. And then actually you can interact with Anthropic Claude 2 via Bedrock as well. So if you're storing, you want to maintain all of your data within AWS S3, you can interact with that model directly in your AWS instance as well. Big question here is, what are we missing, right? Like what else would you like to see in terms of models to be able to connect to? I think we're covering the vast majority of the major players here. And kind of the next phase of, or things that I'm thinking about in terms of R&D, are building out activities for these connectors that allow you to do very use case specific things, not unlike what is available in Document Understanding. We'll talk about that in a second, though. I think probably time to get into the demo. Wait, never mind. How about some common use cases? This is something that I get on every single call that I discuss Gen AI and kind of its implications and uses within the world of RPA. I don't think this is a crazy big secret. I think that, as folks have started to play around with ChatGPT and maybe even more, like Russell can talk a little bit about his experience using LangChain, that's actually getting, kind of models to talk to one another to complete an end-to-end task. The overarching use cases are pretty much, again, I just don't think they're a mystery, right? So they're very good at doing things like translation, right? Where and not just kind of direct translations. It's actually kind of capturing the essence of what the origin language is expressing, and then using natural languages as an output in whatever language is needed. I think that I've found a lot of success in classification. So this is kind of like, you give the model a couple of options that you want a document or a piece of text classified by, and you kind of give the model examples of how you would classify other similar tasks. It does a very good job at returning high fidelity classifications. Same thing, I think it's hit or miss depending on which model you're using, but summarizing text. What I'm going to show you in the demo is feeding a resume into a model and having it return kind of a completely unique summarization of their skill set. So without further ado, I'm gonna go ahead and jump into the demo here. Can everybody still see my screen? Hope so.
Yes, we can, Scott.
Cool. Thank you, Sharon. So I am in here in Studio Web. This, again, as I mentioned, is our flagship web API / UI studio for automations. Not sure if folks have had a chance to get in and test some of the things that are available here. The idea is that Studio Web probably isn't going to have everything that Studio Desktop is. I think that as we continue to add new features and we'll be able to close the gap over time, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But yeah, hopefully you get a chance to hop in here, and if nothing else, just work in debug mode. It's a great way for you to test some of the integration service connectors, including Gen AI connectors, quickly. So let's talk a little bit about what this process is. Let's imagine I think everybody's kind of familiar with this scenario, but you have some kind of shared inbox or public inbox where, or an info address, for instance, where you're collecting resumes of prospective candidates for some future role that might not even exist yet, right? Just to generate interest, to generate kind of a resume repository that recruiters can go to whenever a position might open. And I think it's it would be at least from my vantage point, it's a great opportunity to implement Gen AI to do certain things with that document that comes in. So what I have here is this is an event trigger. I was mentioning this before, but when an email is received, so again, assuming someone sends their resume to a company inbox, I have additional filters set up here where I have a subject, which is, has to contain candidate resume demo, but this could be anything. You can also use these other parameters. You have a bunch of different operators that you can work with to really kind of narrow in on what it is that you're expecting to start the automation. We've added this great functionality right here. This makes it really easy for me to test things out within debug mode, but you have the ability to click on that test trigger button. And what's happening in the background is we're actually going and polling that resource and making sure that is there, kind of an item that matches that filter criteria. Great, I see green. I'm going to actually go ahead and run this right now so I can talk through this as it's running. So we're going to download the email. So once the email gets sent with the resume, we're going to download the email attachments. We're going to upload those files into Google Drive. And then for each one of those resume attachments, what we're going to do is I added this step. This doesn't need to be there, but in order to use a document understanding activity that I like, I'm going to check and see, is that attachment actually a PDF? And if it isn't a PDF, I'm going to use the document understanding activity to OCR, extract that text directly from the resume, right? The next step is going to be, and this is kind of our fun Gen AI stuff, this is going to be actually extracting specific information from that resume. So here's what the prompt actually looks like. And again, just like ChatGPT, you're using natural language to tell the model what you want it to return. Now, I had to screw around with this a little bit, right, to get the right type of output. But what I've basically said here is your task is to review candidate resumes and extract key data points. Now, I asked it to return, this is actually another great use case, right? I asked it to return this information, so first name, surname, email address, current company name, current position in CSV format. And I'll kind of explain why I did that in a second here, but that is the first prompt. And then I fed it the entire resume. So I fed it that entire document. Now, my next activity is, again, going back to Google Vertex, and I'm going to say, your task is to read a candidate resume and return a unique summary of their overall experience. Please use only the following string for your summary, right? And then I feed it the document again. Now, I'm bringing, I think I mentioned this before, but again, it's very important to recognize that I am burning lots of tokens by, you setting up these two activities where I feed the entire document into the model and get an output back. What I noticed in just doing some testing was that, if I asked the model to both complete that extraction task and the summarization task in the same prompt, I just noticed that it was less accurate. And so this is where kind of some of the prompt engineering comes into play. And again, we'll leave it up to you to kind of do some testing and figure out what works for your specific use cases. So after that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use, this is a control activity. So this is an activity that folks should be kind of familiar with, particularly if you're a studio desktop guru, but I'm generating a data table. And this is where I'm going to put all of the, the CSV that I output from the resume extraction activity. I'm going to put that into that temporary data folder, or excuse me, data table. I'm going to add another column to create add the candidate summary, which was the other output from Vertex. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to write that whole range into a Google Sheet. Now, this might be superfluous, but this is more for demonstration purposes to show you what it looks like, right? When we do these API demonstrations, it's like you click the button and you're like, wow, it happened. But it's more exciting with UI, right? Because you get to see like the cursor move around and that kind of stuff. So after that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a pre-hire in Workday. So let's assume again that we have a job opening in Workday, and we want to go ahead and just add that resume directly to the Workday the second that we get it. And then we're going to reply to the email saying, hey, thanks so much for sending in your resume. We plan on getting back to you soon. And then finally, I'm going to send a message to, let's say there's like a recruiter channel where they can kind of review resumes that are coming in. Maybe they set up keyword searches to alert them of certain skill sets for folks to kind of reach out proactively. So all of this ran successfully, which means, oopsies, there it is. Thank God. This is the Google Sheet that I'm just printing out all of the information that came from Vertex for extraction and summarization. And so there's the first name, last name, email address, current company, current position, and then I've got my full summarization there. And just to show you kind of so that I'm not fudging this, I guess I could have fudged this, but that's what the resume looks like. So Jerry Garcia is a product manager at Automox, which it got correct, and I got my email address as well. That's great. So let's go back to our automation here. What else happened? So we should have gotten a Slack message. Let's see. All right, here we are. So this gave me, Jerry Garcia has just submitted their resume and has been processed in Workday. The Workday ID is this. And then I put the summary of the candidate's experience. And again, you could set up like a keyword search, recruiters could, so that they could be alerted for the right types of skill sets. So let's go ahead and look at that, look for that Workday ID. Woohoo, there it is. Jerry Garcia, and he applied for the general job opening. There's the hiring manager. We could also do things like, I didn't add this in the activity, but you totally have the ability to add in this additional options here, I could add the resume so that the resume gets updated as well. So that's kind of the long and short of it. I probably, again, talk too much, but because Monica's here, I'm free and clear. So it looks like there were a couple of questions. Do we want to have people come off mute and maybe ask questions directly?
Yeah, I think that's fine, Scott. And also, we have a guest speaker tonight, George Roth, who is free to go over some of the DU information and do a couple of demos if we have time at the end.
Well, we could, George, take it away, man. All you. I know I'm probably bored you to tears with the demo that I've already shown. So
Oh,
please,
it's really
please go ahead.
cool. I always like when listen to you.
Cool.
No, it's fantastic. I agree. Yeah.
So George, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hello. If you were yesterday, you basically remember me. So I'm the AI evangelist, technology evangelist at UiPath. But my connection is basically I joined UiPath with the first acquisition of this company in 2018 when UiPath acquired my previous company's document understanding platform, which after 3 years became the platform that you know today. So I will be happy to show you a few things, how generative AI is impacting document understanding. And I have actually in my presentation yesterday, I had some slides I never went in. So can I share my screen?
Sure.
Okay. Let me just, one sec. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can, Josh.
Yeah. So just to recap a little bit, basically yesterday we discussed about this connection between document understanding and communications mining. Both of these products actually extract fields from documents. And document understanding is used in the context of communications mining when you have attachments to an email. I show you this. I just show you what are the highlights in 23.10 related to the document understanding platform. And you will see there what happens. We have applications of this new technology, generative AI. First of all, in the pre-label of any document. So if you know, I'll come back a little bit. That's related to the training phase of the documents. We use ChatGPT in classification and also in extraction. What else is happening in the document understanding space? It's basically there is a user experience revamp. And because I talked about the two products, which are very similar. So this is the document understanding platform of ours. In communications mining, you use to train. If you remember yesterday, we talked about fine tuning as an alternative to reinforcement learning with human feedback. They have something called active learning. And active learning means that an SME works with the system, and actually during work, the system is being trained to become better and better. Now, to bring this at the document understanding platform, the phase document understanding in general can extract data using multiple methods. One was the template method, where you could create a template which creates regexes, rules, extraction, but that's a problem because you have to retrain, to rewrite the scripts if the document changes. So the new machine learning based extraction requires a training of the documents, and we offer pre-trained models, so you can use pre-trained models. But the labeling is basically one of the most expensive processes here. And that's why there is a company in San Francisco. I highly recommend you to look at their website. It's called scale.com, which their CEO launched this thing that basically labeling is the new programming. So yes, in machine learning, when you create these models to label, these things generate the rules that before humans were writing in order to extract data from a document. So to recap, in our document understanding platform, we have the phase of digitization, which means you do an OCR to basically, if you have an image which is a raster stuff, which is a graphical, it's a computer graphics, we convert it into something digital. Then you have a classification where you have to determine what type of document it is. You have the extraction phase where you basically start extracting information from each document. We have this concept of taxonomies. Each type of document has a list of fields that you are interested in, and then you have the verification. And this is actually there is a verification phase and the human in the loop, which basically will correct the results, or it will will do manual and extraction if it didn't happen. So basically, the GPT appears in all these three, plus in the training phase. So here you see the Gen AI powered pre-labeling. This is used, basically reduces the time and the cost of pre-labeling for new documents. I'll show you a demo in a second. Then you have seamless document classification with Gen AI. So basically it's the same thing. We basically will call a generative AI system, which will be able to look at the document and classify it because it saw it before. And then for unstructured data, like a contract, and I will show you a demo in a second, you can use Gen AI to extract data because you will associate a field with a question. And then you can do almost like a question answering on a document. Getting here, I will show you the first demo, which is basically the GPT-based labeling. You can see this. Hold on. Sorry, 1 second. Can you see my demo or you couldn't?
We can see it, George.
You can see it?
Yeah. Did you open a video?
No, here. Hold on,
Yeah.
just 1 second, sorry.
Apologies. Yep. We were not able to see the
1
video.
second, I'll stop that.
Application form is
1 second. I just reshare my screen. One second. Oh, you know what the story is when I, hold on. Sorry about that. One second, please. I'll share another screen and then I can show you this. Okay, I'll share screen 1, share sound, and
Yep, we can see it now.
The loan application form is a new type of document we haven't seen yet, so we need to train a new model from scratch. Training relies on data labeling, and historically that takes a lot of time. Now, with GPT, it's as simple as selecting GPT Predict, and you can see that the document is pre-labeled. All we need to do is review the labeled fields and adjust if needed, like down payment amount value in this case. With GPT, we can pre-label any document samples, accelerating training from a week to a day or two for complex scenarios, or down to minutes for simpler forms. Once all the sample documents are ready, we can easily create a new extractor. Let's call it Loan Application Model and use the dataset we've just labeled with GPT. Here is a Studio Web workflow built earlier for this automation. It downloads the attached documents, classifies them using GPT, and then extracts all needed data from each document. The first step for us is deciding which document is which so we can send them to the best AI to extract the data. We call this classification. Using GPT to classify documents is really easy. I just need to describe the document types. In this case, we have application forms, employment letters, and we're adding ID cards. Here, GPT increases time to value as we don't need to write rules for classification or to train new ML models. To extract data from ID cards, we use one of the pre-trained UiPath specialized AI models. For the application form, we use the new specialized AI model we just trained with the help of GPT. Since employment letters are free-form, unstructured documents, we use generative AI with GPT to answer our questions. For example, what is the name of the employee? What is the name of the company? What is the salary of the employee? Let's run the project, and you can see how the robot executes all these actions step by step. If human validation is needed for any stage, a task is created in UiPath Action Center for the employees to review. Here, a task has been created for the loan application form, and you can see how the extractor we trained with GPT performed. Everything is perfect, so we can save and continue. Another task is created for the employment letter. We review the output and click Save for the robot to move forward. As you can see in the workflow, the extracted data is used to create a new loan application in the loan origination system. As part of end-to-end automation with UiPath, generative and specialized AI enables faster and more accurate document processing than ever before.
Cool. So 1 second here. Let me go back to my slides. Well, hold on.
Hello everyone. Welcome to my new week.
Oh, one second. Okay, share screen. Come on. Can you see my screen now?
Yep, we can see it.
Yeah, I don't know which. Oh, cool. So let me to move.
Hey George, there was a request. Do we have a link to that video that we could share?
Yeah, absolutely. I can give you that. We can
Fantastic.
communicate. There is another. I can show you another one. There is actually this GPT-based extraction. If you do, there is a very long demo created by Lahiru Fernando. It's one of our MVPs also. And what else I can show you? Another interesting, I don't know if you saw, and this is a kind of application of our document understanding. Let me run this one.
George, we are still seeing your presentation screen.
Excuse me? Hold on.
Oh, we are looking at the slide. Yeah.
Yeah, 1 second. I have to go back here. It's okay. And I'll try to, I don't know why it doesn't let me the PowerPoint to go in presentation mode for some reason. And that's my, because 1 sec. I don't know why my computer, let me try to, I stop this one and I share screen one and share screen one and
Clipboard AI can copy and paste data among documents, spreadsheets, and applications. It also has transformative features such as data conversion, cognitive skills including summarization, and Q&A functionalities. In this first example, we will showcase simply extracting and pasting all invoice information into your Excel spreadsheet. Let's say you get the invoice over email. Begin by opening the email and downloading the attachment. This contains an invoice which is populated with different data fields such as product and its description, quantity ordered and shipped, unit pricing, and more. Then click on one of the two buttons in Clipboard AI, Copy Window. Navigate to Excel and select any empty cell. These cells have been pre-formatted. Now we will paste the invoice data here. With minimal interaction, Clipboard AI seamlessly extracted all the information from the invoice and placed it in Excel in a structured way with all relevant fields and columns. Similar to regular copy and paste, you can paste the same data across multiple locations. For example, let's now paste the same invoice into NetSuite. This time, it's a more challenging task, and Clipboard AI will present a window displaying which data goes where. In case the automatic data matching gets anything wrong, you can easily correct it here. There's much more you can accomplish here, such as adding transformations to convert currencies, units of measurement, and more. This time, we don't need to adjust anything, so we can just paste it as is. By the way, the next time you paste an invoice into NetSuite, if there are no other ambiguities, this confirmation process will be skipped. Thanks to Clipboard AI, the tedious task of manually entering an invoice into Excel or NetSuite is now a quick and smooth process. So we saw how to copy a document to Excel. Let's explore the reverse process, such as when you have data in Excel that needs to be input into an ERP system. In this example, we will create a new customer. Choose the desired data in Excel. Select Copy Cells. Navigate to the SAP Customer Master page. Create Person. Pull down the Clipboard AI toolbar at the top. Paste the data into the form. Now, all the fields are populated with the appropriate information from the Excel file. In this final demo, we will show how you can extract structured data even from a completely unstructured source, like an email from a customer requesting a bank transfer on their behalf. The process for updating this in SAP on the customer's profile page is just as straightforward. Open the Outlook window containing the email. Click Copy. Navigate to the appropriate SAP page. And click Paste in Form. Clipboard AI successfully understood the email content regarding a bank transfer request. It accurately copied the necessary data from the email and updated the relevant fields in SAP. This process is much quicker than manual copying and pasting for each field.
Yeah, so I'm sorry about the technical difficulty, but Clipboard AI, it's an application of DU, which basically you don't see the DU. So that's what I said. We call this invisible AI, and everybody's working towards hiding AI behind everything. You have no idea that you work with AI. But you will have the simple copy paste from one screen to another one, which behind the scene does all the mappings, all the extraction, calls the machine learning models, and so on. You can test the financial clipboard AI. Actually, it's in preview. You can get access to it. We can send you the info. So we showed you a few things, and you see in this way how generative AI makes the things much simpler right now. And one of the last thing that I want to mention, this has also a kind of, if you remember yesterday, we talked about responsible AI. there is you have to be aware that there are certain dangers, and if you know what happened to basically Zoom last week, Zoom last week tried to change their contract in order to write there that yes, the user agreed to use their data in order to improve the Zoom processes, and this created a lot of reactions, and they had to change back their contract against, so not to mention this thing. The same thing if you, last week, Microsoft, or I think yesterday, Microsoft or 2 days ago, came out with an announcement that would not allow anybody to use data extracted with their Azure ChatGPT in training other models. So what that means that it could be, can be an effect of calling actually Microsoft's ChatGPT, Azure ChatGPT, in order to train your data. Like here you saw the labeling. We don't know yet really what will be the end, but I can tell you that in our document understanding platform, one of the things that will be introduced, I don't know if it's 23.10 or not, will be a button there where the users will be able to opt out of using any LLMs in the extraction, or to specify certain LLMs that can be used. So you have to keep in mind that the biggest thing in document understanding and in anything is the data that used for training. And also another enhancement which will be deployed with 23.10 is we will provide logs about the usage of document understanding and also stats about how these behaved. And in these logs, we'll be able to basically mask the PII information to avoid problems with sensitive data. Well, I hope this was useful. We will provide you with the links to see the demos that I showed you. And if you have questions, anytime. Thank you.
Thank you, George. And thanks for jumping in tonight. So, Scott, I wanted to go back to you before we open up for questions, to see if you guys wanted to see the results of the survey.
I love results. Please.
Okay, great.
Cool. So more newbies than not. Again, really encourage everybody to hop into Studio Web or Studio Desktop and start playing around with the integration service connectors. There certainly is a pack of free API calls, so it's I think it behooves you to take a look at what we offer. Let me know what's missing. I think a lot of the investment that UiPath is making in terms of activities are going to be API based. So please do work with us and let us know what you need. Okay, so again, sounds like majority here are not using integration service connectors in your organization. Would love to know why not. If that's just more of a reflection of you haven't had a lot of experience in integration service, that's fine. But if there is something that's missing, that's precluding you from being able to kind of, publish automations using integration service connectors and activities in a production environment, we'd love to know. Have you used UiPath connectors with your automation projects? Oh, so we have a majority that says yes. That's great. Little change there. Okay, so 2/3 here are saying haven't worked with any of the Gen AI connectors. Again, if there's any specific reason that you can cite, if it's more of just not the top priority for you, that makes a lot of sense. But if there's something missing in terms of the functionality, again, something I would love to know about so I can prioritize changes and make sure that we get everybody in there working with those connectors. Cool. So OpenAI, POC, HR. Good deal. I wonder what that YouTube video is. Fields from documents, secure machines, secure information, simple email, data extraction, banking login. Cool. Yeah, this is great. Portability between dev, OneDrive, SharePoint, prod tenants. So I probably need a little bit more explanation on some of these items. If you're the one who submitted these, please hit the comment section or email me. I actually am the one who works on OneDrive and SharePoint events and activities specifically, so that I could probably be of help. Portability between dev, I don't really understand, and prod tenants, I don't understand. You're still in the early phases of learning about UiPath connectors. Okay. Enterprise application, proprietary concerns, security considerations. So the integration service architecture, I believe, is readily available on our website. But again, basically what you're doing, it's only an automation cloud offering as of now. We are working on integrating integration service into automation suite, but it does require that you have automation cloud and you have the ability to connect to and make API calls to external services. As I mentioned during the demo, you set up connections, right, to these vendor applications, and then you refer to or invoke those connections at design time and at runtime, right? So all of the kind of data management is not being handled really by UiPath at the end of the day, right? So like if you're using a Salesforce activity or you're using a Slack activity, all of the same expectations that you would have of those applications in terms of how they store data and, you know, kind of how their services run, you know, that's kind of outside the scope of UiPath. UiPath is acting as the connective tissue. I've heard Graham refer to it as, you know, if Gen AI is the brains, then UiPath is really the body, right? This is what's is connecting you know, all of those neurons that are firing to go, okay, now it's time to move this way, right? Like, so that's the way you should think of it. But also know that the, you know, applications that you're integrating with, that you're automating, you know, all of the same things apply in terms of your expectations for data storage, security, all of that good stuff. So hopefully that's understood. As for Connector Builder, I hope folks can hop in there and start, again, another reason to get into Automation Cloud, go to integration service and start working with Connector Builder. I would be happy to hop on a call. I would be happy to receive emails. What's not working for you? What are you getting stuck with? I guarantee you will get stuck at first. But again, the idea is that slowly but surely, once you get the hang of it, you'll be able to add your own resources and then publish those connectors and have activities that are available in Studio Web and Studio Desktop that interact with that, you know, custom connector. So.
Yeah, and then Scott, I think the last question is just asking for email addresses if they're interested.
Okay, yeah, you don't need to show that.
Mm-hmm. So great, thank you for responding, everybody. And Russell, I'll turn it over to you to see if there's any questions.
Sure. Probably this last question from Imran. First question is, does clipboard AI works with invoices in image format, PNG, JPG, any format where we are unable to copy text? That's question one. Number two is, does clipboard AI capture the data which is not visible on screen? For example, next page or text visible after scroll down.
George, are you able to cover those? Are you still?
I don't know how to answer that question. We have to ask. By the way, for people who were yesterday, was a question which I actually asked communications mining if they detect phishing. They didn't know, and they promised the person that I asked to get back with that. So related to clipboard AI, it is in beta, and if there are questions, I can ask the authors that. I don't know too much about the guts of it, and this with hidden fields, I don't know. But yeah.
Yeah, probably I can take stab based on my experience on the previous versions that I tested. You can think of it as like your own clipboard, but with steroids, right? So if you can if you can copy from, let's say, your any type of documents or sources that you have, images, for example, that you mentioned, any types of images, you can do so as well with clipboard AI. So that's one. Number two, does clipboard AI capture data which is not visible? I'd say it would work like computer vision, right? Which is restricted to the one that is visible on the screen, but we can definitely follow up on that with the product team.
Any other questions, Russell?
I think that's all, and then probably we can follow up with other questions offline.
Okay. And if anybody wants to open up their mics and ask anything before we leave, please do. Okay. No more questions then. Well, I want to thank you, Scott and George, for presenting tonight, and for Russell and Sharon monitoring the chat for us. Just want to thank everybody for coming tonight. This was a great session. And we will hopefully see you tomorrow night for the wrap up of this series. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thanks, George. Thanks, Scott. Diana.
Uh-huh.
Fun.